Hachette Little Brown Books. He's actually the sales rep that I meet with personally to bring Hachette and Little Brown Books into our children's departments. Thank you for being here, Rick. And last but not least, James Owen is here. He is the founder and executive director of Coppervale International, an art and design studio that publishes periodicals, develops television and film programs, and is redesigning an entire town in Arizona. If anyone can do it, I think James can. He has written and illustrated over 24 Star Child comics, the award-winning Mythworld series of novels, and the best-selling series The Chronicles of Imaginarium Geographica, and the inspirational nonfiction book Drawing Out the Dragons, and many others. We're so happy to have you here, James. And then I, of course, will be moderating tonight, but also taking questions as well. My name is Brandy Stewart. I am the children's book buyer for Changing Hands. I've been here for almost 9 years, we in August, and so I'm happy to take your questions from a bookseller, book buyer perspective. And we'll go ahead and start off. I just want to mention, we're not actively soliciting for new clients right now, but if you guys just have questions, or if you want to talk about that individually, you can later, but this is strictly Q&A. So staying Q&A, we'll start off with opening this to the audience. Does anybody have a question you'd like to ask our panelists? Raise your hand.
Sure.
Question. What would be your best recommendation for self-publishing?
Whether to self-publish or not? Well, actually, we were talking about this earlier at dinner. I think self-publishing is great if you want to publish your book for your friends and family. It's really difficult, I think, to get a wider distribution than that. Unless you're a romance author that you do it better than anybody else. But it also, it just seems like if you want the world to see your book, that you would want to go with
I used to not want to encourage people to self-publish if they were looking to become part of the traditional marketplace. But we've all heard different success stories, the 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100,000. So I think what's more important is this, is that you have to decide for yourself what is your writing about. What are your goals? What are your objectives? And it's not one or the other necessarily, it's just what is it for you at this moment on that particular piece. But whatever you do, I would say this. Know your craft, make your craft the best that it can be, no matter what. And that's what it's really all about. And then know the industry so you can make the decisions about where you want to place your work.
I started self-publishing with comic books, and that's a bit of a different animal because it's a different marketplace. Even more so now that the comic book industry is dominated by one distributor, Diamond. But what that also means is it's a pretty level playing field. Is that if you want to create a comic book, as long as the level of craft is there, like Michelle said, you can get it into the catalog that's pretty much the same that everybody else is listed in. DC Comics, Marvel Comics, they get a little bit more page space, but you're still in the same distribution system. I'm supportive of people that want to self-publish because that was the basis of everything that I did. It was the basis of my developing my craft. To be able to write and illustrate the novels that I do now took 700 pages of Star Child, and then writing some novels for a German publisher who was a Star Child fan. If I hadn't done the comic books, I wouldn't have gotten the attention of the publisher in Germany. I wouldn't have gotten the experience that I needed to write and draw Here There Be Dragons. So it's cumulative. All your choices are cumulative. In traditional publishing now, I think the best argument for it is to show that you can produce something that's professional. There are ways to learn the aspects of it, to get a cover artist if you can't draw. There are places to find them. There are places to hire independent editors. It's not easy. It's not going to be cheap. But if you want to show that you can produce something professional, that's not a bad way to go about it. And then if you were to develop relationships with good independent bookstores, show them you've got something that they might be able to sell. See if you can arrange to do a signing. Get them some books on consignment. Get some photographs of that. See if you can get some press. Leverage that into other signings. I think that can be the one useful aspect of it, is it's steps to develop your audience in your career. And like I said, it is cumulative. The guy that came to my signing in New York for Here There Be Dragons, I mean, he showed up for that. It was at a comic book store in Manhattan. First guy in line had 5 copies of the novel, hardcovers and paperbacks of all my graphic novels, and every comic book that I'd ever done, including the one I published when I was 16 years old, which he bought in that store in 1986. All of your choices are cumulative. And I sat there and looked at the whole stack, my whole career, in one stack of books, and realized, okay, this took a long time, but I'm going in the direction I want to go. But just realize it's going to take some work.
So for beginners, would you recommend self-publishing, or would you recommend getting Simon & Schuster or something like that?
I'd recommend getting in with the publisher that would pay you $1 million if you can find one. If you find one, please let me know. For beginners, if you're just getting started, it doesn't hurt to look at those options while you're sending stuff to editors and agents. I mean, part of the reason that agents, I hear the term gatekeeper a lot, but really what a good agent or a good editor can do is help you find out if you're good enough for that market. And sometimes it takes more time to develop that craft or to shape that particular work into something that's really marketable. Now you might decide, no, I'm ready to go do this now and go and self-publish it, and then the market will tell you. The booksellers will tell you. Brandy will tell you. It doesn't hurt to get that kind of feedback. And if that's what you want, you know, as he said, if you want to work on becoming a household name, you need those big publishers. I need publishers like Simon & Schuster and like Little Brown. I need them to have those books in every bookstore in the country. I need them to sell the rights to other publishers. But I've had things like the coloring books. We were just talking about it at dinner. I repurposed the art from my novels into coloring books that I self-published because I could do it faster because I already had an audience. And I knew I could do it and I knew I could design it. If you're starting out, that might be an option because sometimes you have to demonstrate it has value. I gave you the bookmarks about the Drawing Out the Dragons book that I'm going to send you. I pitched that to my manager, and she said, it's an inspirational book. I don't know how to sell that. You're a young adult fantasy novelist. She said, maybe we could print up a pamphlet and give it out for free at schools. My take was, Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul sold 14 million copies. There's a market for that. There's a market for inspirational and motivational books. I had to prove it by doing a Kickstarter and publishing it myself. Then it was picked up by a bigger publisher. I had to demonstrate the value first. So you have to make that decision for yourself, but it doesn't hurt to be courting the agents and editors at the same time.
So, you know, more than 14 years working right here in Arizona as a regional advisor for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. I can tell you how many manuscripts I've read from all of you guys and other people, and so my concern always is like being aware. You need to understand the industry, and self-publishing is an industry of itself. And you know, one of the buzzwords of late is called discoverability. And when one publishes on their own, self-publishes, that option of discoverability becomes your responsibility. And James, you said it takes work. But I don't know that people really understand always what kind of work that takes. So when I hear folks like yourself, did I get it right? Is it Win? That your question is an important question, and it involves a lot of different answers and homework. And so you need to understand what discoverability means and what marketing means and who you think your audience is going to be and how much money would you might have to invest in all of this to get, what are your goals, where are your goals, what is it that you want. And I say this because I'm going back many years, but I've worked with so many people who in the early 2000s, and they had the dream of going to self-publish, and then they had 2,000 copies of their book published, in China, and then they invited me to their garage to look at the boxes of books. So, I guess my recap, because you know what you're doing, you had a plan, but it is important that you know what that is all about. So just be educated, keep asking those questions, figure out what all of that means, and then as this, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
My name is Sarah.
Sarah, so when you figure that out, then you can start to make those healthy decisions for yourself. And it doesn't preclude, as you point out, that you can take different paths for different projects or different pieces, but just know what it entails and what you have to invest in it and what your goals are. And if you can achieve that goal, then that's a great thing. And so, did I elaborate?
I think you had a question.
How do you get an agent?
The question is how to get an agent.
Let's start with that one. It's not easy. There is a lot. I was telling people that are at my table, it's a lot of homework. It's researching, it's networking, it's going online, looking out for anybody that has the same interest that you do. I think at Little Brown, we do not accept any manuscripts that don't come in without an agent. It's just, we used to, we do not do that anymore. So it's even more important to have an agent now. You actually want an agent to represent you here. So a lot of complicated negotiations that you don't have to do with a publisher. But in order to get one, it's just you need to research, do your homework, and don't give up. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. It's like getting a publisher. And once you get an agent, I would caution you to it because you're going to get a call. You're going to say, I want to represent you. And you're going to say, I'll do anything you want me to do. And that's not the right answer. You really need to then research it even further and make sure that they're compatible with what you're doing.
Something I mentioned to a few of you, but we were also just discussing a little while ago, Facebook. Lots of agents are active on Facebook, and sometimes they'll post when they have open reading sessions. One that I know in particular I pointed some people to is Jenny Bent, the Jenny Bent Agency. She posted last fall, hey, I've got an open reading session. There are 6 agents, I think, at the Jenny Bent Agency, and she said specifically, if she turns you down, that doesn't necessarily mean other agents there will decline as well. They each have their specialties, so her saying no doesn't mean the agency said no. So just right off the top of my head, that's a place that, and she's active on Facebook. So look up on Facebook, follow Jenny Bent, and it'll pop up in your feed next time she has an open reading.
And just to add to that, I think there are a lot of authors too who were unpublished authors at one point, and they do want to help aspiring writers, and I think Facebook is an excellent suggestion to do that.
A lot of times, agencies will be closed to new submissions just because they're overloaded working with the clients that they already have. And they'll put certain restrictions on when they'll be open to looking at new manuscripts. When she says open reading, it means for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to read everything you guys sent. We're looking for new clients. So that's what you want to look for. And I know a lot of different agents that use Facebook for that specific purpose and say, here's the announcement, pass it along.
Okay. So, can you restate your question, please, for me? How do you get an agent? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay. So you get an agent by, number one, having a piece of work that is ready for sale or works that are ready for sale. And then you research agents who represent the type of work that you have for sale. Because, as Cheryl Klein said, it is a marriage. It's a marriage. It's a marriage between an agent and a writer or an illustrator, or a marriage between a writer and an illustrator and an editor. You're going to enter into an agreement that says, I love what you do, I want to represent that, and I believe I can sell it. And not all agents are created equal, as are not all editors created equal. People have proclivities, they have particular interests and bents. So you have homework to do. And you have to be vigilant about continuing to know who those people are and what it is that they are looking for and how they match you. And then James's suggestion, following on Facebook or other, I think I mentioned at one of my tables or more than one, to follow the Purple Crayon, Carol Underdown's website, and others, to see, because anything in print, if you look in the marketplace, which is a wonderful guide to buy, right here, Changing Hands, it's fantastic, buy it, because it also comes with an online version, which will have an updated take on where everybody is, who's where. You want to know, it's like baseball. Who's on first? Who's on second? They just moved, new team. I'm in California, now I'm somewhere else. That's the marketplace today. So it's targeting and keeping vigilant about that. And knowing how, think about your first boyfriend or your partner or whatever. It was like you knew it was a match. And then you're going to go for that match and see if it comes to fruition. Now, FaceTime is extremely important as well. So how many opportunities can you put yourself into where you have networking? Sorry, networking, that's my New York hand. Talk to my New York hands, I'm sorry. It's just water. It's a good omen, my mother would say. So you want to have FaceTime. So what are the opportunities for you to have FaceTime? Thank you so much. With agents and or editors. Because sometimes it's an agent, sometimes it's an editor. You can make that connection with an editor as well. And what are the opportunities? Thank you so much, Wayne. What are the opportunities you can have for FaceTime? So FaceTime happens at events. And events happen all around the country. They happen here in Arizona, they happen in California, they happen in New Mexico, they happen in... And so how do you make those connections at events? I am a regional advisor who for 14 years have put on events here and brought people from Madison Avenue, agents, editors, art directors, marketing people, so that folks like yourselves could meet them, have an opportunity to submit manuscripts that could be seen, and then they open their doors to their houses, agent or publishing, so that you could submit to them for a period of time. Because over the years we've seen those closures. Now agents are more open these days than editors, okay? So it's easier to submit to agents than most of the time major publishing houses. But you want those networking opportunities, and you need to research when those are, and then you still have to do your homework, because you need to know who is a match for what you have. So is that a long and short answer of like how do you get an agent? And be the best that you can be. Submit your best one.
I think we had a question here, and then I'll come back to the front. Yeah, I think you were waiting.
Yeah, thank you. How crowded is the children's young author, young adult field right now? Is there room for more people, or is it just so stocked that you want a romance or mystery?
let's start with this. How big is it? I have a new little grandbaby, and I would say, so big.
So there's opportunity.
But there's room, there's always opportunity.
And I would say too, if you've got something that you feel passionate about, you've got something that you think is just a world killer, then of course, absolutely, it's open.
Don't give up.
Ditto. It's, you know, it's always gonna be too full until that one really awesome thing, you know, comes up. It's like pie. There's always gonna be room for pie. So just make sure your book is like pie.
When you have written a book, before you give it to a literary agent, you want to protect it. So you want wasting a lot of time. How you go to get it perfected to the point where now you're ready to present to a literary agent that it's possible to get the very best word out that you can give.
I teach at an annual conference in Colorado Springs called the Superstars Writing Seminars. And it was organized originally by Kevin J. Anderson and his wife, Rebecca Mesta. And it's basically teaching the business of publishing. But one of the things that has sprung up from this gathering is a number of groups of authors who are supporting each other. Writers groups, people developing this as careers, not just writing as a hobby, but developing it as serious careers, and supporting each other. The biggest group that's come out of the Superstars Writing Seminar is called the Victorians. And they have a website, and they post regularly about that sort of thing. But the Victorians has a number of groups of writers. I would find something like the Victorians. A group of writers, find a group of them that are doing the same sort of thing that you are, that can be supportive of what you're doing, and just ask. Just ask, say, here's what I'm looking for. I need some feedback from people who are farther along in this path than I am, and you look like you are a good group of people, and you know what you're doing, and join up with a writer's group. Find people on that same path, and let them help you. We're all trying to help each other along this road, and that's the best way. Michelle can answer this.
Look around you, right here. I told this to the people I was talking to this evening. I said, right now, you have a networking opportunity right here. So that's one thing. But make that connection here, even if it's just with one person. Hello, we're all shaking our heads. And then there are organizations that will help you like that. And the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators is actually extremely helpful in doing that. And it may be here locally, and it may be online that you will find people through that organization. But that is one of the ways. Facebook is another way. There are lots of groups on Facebook. There is a picture book Facebook group that I manage. There's a nonfiction book that I manage. So it's looking for those arenas that you're interested in and starting to just make acquaintances with people. But when you come to an event like this, like it was nice, we were sitting in those small groups, but still everybody was looking kind of at me when we were talking. But what's more important is that we're like circular and we're looking at each other, because I'm going like, oh, well, here's colleagues at my table that I can meet, and I should be exchanging my email information with them. So before you go, I want you to stand up and shout and say, I'm looking for somebody here in the greater Phoenix area that I'd like to connect with and form a critique group with. Now, I wanted to say something about critique groups, and you can email me if you want more information about this. Not all critiques are created equal. there's quality and there's not quality. So when you're looking for people to connect with, you want people who are as informed, if not more informed than you are about your craft. So that it is a learning situation and not a, because the worst thing you could have in a critique group is, oh, that's nice. Oh, I don't like that. Oh. We need people who are informed about the particular craft you're writing, who can talk about the elements that are present, elements that are not there, and maybe make some suggestions to you, whether you take them or not, about how to finesse them. So this is a class in style. Okay, this is, you know, you need to be informed about your own craft so that you can judge better about whether this group of people are going to be informative to me. So you can do that right here in this room. You can do this by connecting. You can join SPWI. You can go on Facebook. You can email me. I'll connect you with other people. These are the kinds of things you have to be proactive. But critique groups are essential, I think, because we all need feedback. We all need to give and take and learn our craft the best that we can. So I'm learning. Spill another glass of water.
So in the world of children's literature and even getting into like early reader, are there any themes or types of stories that you guys feel like you want to see used on scene?
I could probably answer this a little bit. Well, I have, most recently I've been, parents have been coming in and looking for moving books. I get a lot of questions about changing families. There's not a lot of books about adoption, so that's an area I think that could be improved on. More diverse books are coming out nowadays, which is really nice. There's a lot of books even for younger kids about gender identity, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely ask bookstores what they've been asked a lot. Customers are asking for. So I think that would give you some insider knowledge that you might not get just by asking your peers. Rick, did you have anything?
I was just, that question got asked a lot at my table, and I think, what I've noticed is that when you are writing a book to get into a trend, especially fiction, as soon as you finish the book, the trend is past. So I would be careful about writing something for a trend as opposed to writing something you feel passionate about. There's nothing like what Randy was saying. There's nothing like going to a bookseller and saying, "What are people asking for?" And it's mostly nonfiction, really, in that category. But if you're writing fiction, I would just write new novels.
And then I just want to add one more thing. When you are writing books that have very specific topics, you have to be, I advise people to be careful how they do it, because I think you want to be able to appeal to a wider audience too, so trying to make it really fun for everybody who's reading it, but still like touching on that specific topic. So if you're doing a moral book, don't just like slap people in the face with a moral. I mean, they know they're going to get something from the book, so make it fun too, because you want people to keep turning the pages. You had a question, Jack?